Good morning. I hope life is going great for you today, and that this is the beginning of an amazing week for you. I want to visit with you for just a little bit today from a passage in John chapter 9. It's a story of Jesus healing a man that had been born blind. And what's so amazing to me is that when he and the disciples come to this man and they see him, the disciples respond by saying, Rabbi, who sinned? This man or his parents that he was born blind? Isn't that an amazing question? Why would you look at someone that was born blind and assume that somebody had sinned to cause it? Now, I do understand that sin entering the world caused lots of things, but God doesn't just pass down some action that an individual has done. And so the question really is a strange one. They wanted to be able to understand in their own mind and in some kind of physical way why this had happened. But listen to how Jesus responded to it. He said, neither this man nor his parents sinned. Now, listen, he's not saying that they had never done anything wrong. They didn't have any sin in their life. They were all completely guiltless. No, that's not the point. His point is they hadn't done anything to cause this man to be born blind. But Jesus said, I'm reading from the NIV translation of it, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. As long as it's day, we must do the works of him who sent me. Night's coming in which no one can work. While I'm in the world, I am the light of the world. And then after this, Jesus would take some spit and make mud and put it on the man's eyes and say to him, go down to the pool of Siloam and wash, and you'll be able to see. Now, think about all of this for just a minute. Number one, what does he mean? This didn't happen because anybody sinned. Instead, this, he said, happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. I don't think, by the way, that he's saying that God had this man to be born blind and to struggle with that agony all of these years so that Jesus could heal him at that point. I think the point Jesus is making is this: listen, you've got your focus in the wrong place. It's not about who sinned. It's not about what caused the man to be born blind. The question is, what do we do about it? How do we deal with the fact that the man is blind and needs our help? And so he said, here's what we need to do. I need to deal with the problem now because night's coming when no one can work. We need to solve the issue. He's making a point, I believe, about life. So many times we want to figure out why or what caused that, when the right answer is, what can we do about it? How can I solve it? No matter what caused the issue, here is the problem. Here's a man in hurt, in challenge in his life, and Jesus had the power to heal. And so he said it's not a matter of what caused it. It's a matter of what do we do about it. And so he made the mud out of spit and put it on the man's eyes. And what is so amazing, he asked the blind man to go down to the pool of Siloam and wash. He asked of him to do something. Here's a grown man that had been going around and living in that blind state all of his life. And so Jesus asked of him to do something out of his faith that he might be healed. And he went down to the pool and washed like the Lord said, and immediately his sight came to him. He could see. Now, was there something magic in that mud? No. Was there something magic in the water? No. It was a matter of doing what Jesus said in order to be healed. Because the power was in Jesus to heal. And so when the man obeyed and washed, he came out seeing. What if he had said, well, why don't you just heal me like you are right now? Why would I have to go all the way down to the pool of Siloam in order to be? Why don't you just heal me? Well, the Lord could have done that. But the reality is that God's blessings come when I'm willing to submit to his will and do what he said. If I want that kind of benefit of spiritual sight, when I'm spiritually blind, to come to me, I need to be willing to believe in the Lord, do what he said do, and expect the results to come when I live that kind of life for him. So the man came back seeing. Now, the reaction of the people all around was, hey, that guy looks like the blind man. He said, I am him. I'm the very one that has been blind, and Jesus healed me. Well, how in the world did he do that? And then he goes through all of this story. Even the parents, when the religious leaders call him in, they're afraid to stand up and say, yeah, that's my son. And sure enough, he can now see. He was blind all of his life. But out of fear, his own parents said, he's old enough, ask him. For fear they'd be cast out of the synagogue. And these religious leaders then turned to say to the man, listen, the one who healed you he's really a sinner because he healed on the Sabbath day. And that broke the law. And so he's not for real. He cannot be. And the man said, whether he's a sinner or not, I don't know. This is what I know. I was blind, and now I see. And so that's what I know. And I know that God doesn't listen to sinners. It's the one that is obedient to him that he listens to. And so these great religious leaders, because he didn't fit their mold, threw the man out of the synagogue. Jesus will come to him and say to him, do you believe in the Messiah, in the Christ? Well, who is he, Lord, that I might believe? I who speak to you, me, oh, Lord, I believe. I believe. So he brought the man not just to physical sight that day. He brought him to spiritual sight as well. He allowed him to see the Son of God as he really is, to come to that spiritual sight that brought salvation to his soul, not just sight to his eyes. Isn't that amazing? Listen, so often we ask the wrong questions. So often we make judgments based on some superficial idea rather than seeing the whole thing. These religious leaders could only see that he broke their idea of what the Sabbath ought to be. Jesus didn't say it then, but he said on other occasions, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath, and I'm the Lord of the Sabbath. But they regarded Jesus as a false teacher because he didn't fit their mold and do things the way they thought it ought to be done. It's important that I see things as they are, not just how I think they ought to be.